This is Faisal Khan for Lights Out in association with Shamrock Boxing, and with me via Skype, delighted to be joined by Mr. Barry Jones. Barry, good evening. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Nice to see you. How are you keeping?
I'm trying my best. just taking each day as it comes. How about you? How's yourself? How's the family? How are you finding this whole situation?
We're all healthy and well, and that's the main thing.
That's good. Obviously, it's been a while since we've seen you live on BT Sports, hearing your commentary. The last time you were out was that emphatic night in Las Vegas when Tyson Fury became a world champion. I've got to ask you from ringside, what was it like witnessing that and that performance Fury put in?
It was it's sometimes hard to take it all in on the actual night, and that you knew something was special was happening, but you can't really take it in. But then, so once it's all over, it was fantastic being there. Obviously, it was a great performance. But then when you walk away and you go in the bar across the road, and all of a sudden you just go look at your friends, John Rawling, Richie Woodall, Bunty, and you just go, oh my God, did that really happen? It was that sort of performance. It was. I thought he would win, but I thought it would be very similar to the first fight, where he'd have to use his boxing skills and his footwork, and he just did everything that he shouldn't do. To be honest, if he was, I remember saying to David Hay in the fight, or just after the fight, if he were to tell you the night before Tyson Fury that he was going to go out and bully Wilder, you'd want to slap him on the back of the head and say, "Well, behave yourself. Why would you take that risk of going at such a dangerous puncher?" But he did it, and he did it, in not just well, he did it fantastically, superb. It was just one of those performances of one of the great British performances of all time. I think not the greatest, but one of them. It was fantastic.
It was definitely up there, and I remember the week leading up to the fight, Tyson claimed more than once that he was going to do what he did. Did you, being there in Vegas, being at that whole scene, did you ever think to yourself that it was possible for Tyson Fury to put in that type of performance that he did on the night?
No, not that way. No, because even though Wilder had shown frailties, he's also been at his dangerous when he's been hurt, but because he fires when he's hurt, Wilder, he really does. Wilder's actually brave. He didn't look great at the other, but I think overall he's quite brave. But no, not that style. No way could he have won like that. No one would have predicted that. No, people were just going along with what Tyson said. Some people or people in the know, seeing the way he was training, maybe who had the inside track, would say he's going to go at him, like his dad for sure was very vocal about how he was going to win. But that's his dad. They're going to say whatever Tyson knows. What's he going to say? My son's going to get knocked out if he does this. Though, to be fair, John Fury might very well say that because he does speak his mind. But no, not that way. No way was he going to win like that. Not at all.
What was your thoughts on the recent comments by Deontay Wilder saying he still doesn't see Tyson Fury as the world heavyweight champion and he doesn't recognize him as the world heavyweight champion? What's your thoughts on those comments by Deontay Wilder?
Well, I just think in this era of boxing, of sports, but in boxing especially, people just say stuff for the sake of saying it. I don't know what he's on about. It sounds like a man deluded. He just beat you. He didn't beat you. He didn't beat you like... I understand when you can outbox it. Like, listen, I couldn't punch, so I used to outbox people. So I could understand some of the people I beat having a grievance. Going, well, hang on, he didn't stand and fight. He didn't hurt me. I don't think I lost the fight, even though they did. But if Fury would have done the running, the moving and the dancing, then maybe you could have argued. But he beat him up. I can't see how you can not just say, hold your hands up and say, okay, I wasn't right going into the fight. Whatever excuses you had before the fight, you actually got to say, but I might have had excuses. My cat was sick. I had diarrhea the night before. My toenail was bad. Whatever excuse is, you still got to say, I still lost to a guy who beat me up. And that's what happens. And I think you do that. You got to be honest with yourself. Boxers, you have to be an eternal dreamer. You have to con yourself at times that you're going to, that you're better than you are, or do things that, because you have to walk through walls sometimes in fights. So you'll convince yourself you're going to win any fight. even when this doesn't seem feasible. But you do have to have some sort of reality check, especially in defeat, if you want to move on and better yourself. But in this generation, I don't know. I don't really believe what people say in public so much anymore, because they just say stuff for publicity and for the sake of saying it. The fact that he's not giving no credit makes him look worse. If he says he's not a real champion, well, you just got beat by a guy who's not real then. Why would you want to say that? Listen, the guy, I lost one fight as a professional, and I'm glad. I praise him up. I want him to be good. It makes my defeat not more bearable. You know, if that's possible. Rather than say a guy who beat you, go, oh, he was shit, he was rubbish. But he just beat you. So, you know, have a bit of perspective. So I don't take any relevance at all in what he's saying.
We understand, obviously, that it is likely now that Fury and Wilder will have a third fight. In terms of dates, I've been hearing perhaps maybe October, maybe even a bit later. I've also been hearing rumours that Bob Arum's been speaking to the WWE about using their performance center. And I'm reading as well on social media, I've heard rumours that Deontay Wilder is looking to get rid of his backroom staff, his trainer, and he's likely to bring in someone like Floyd Mayweather. Judging by the last two fights, do you think now is the right time for Deontay Wilder to make changes to his backroom staff, or do you think he should still have faith in the likes of Mark Breland and hoping that they can get it right for a third fight?
I think I've always been perplexed with the Breland connection, because Mark Breland was a fantastic boxer, Olympic gold medalist, world champion at welterweight, beat Lloyd Honeyghan. But he was textbook stuff, tall, like Deontay, beautiful jab. But I can't see how he hasn't really done. I can't believe that Wilder's so technically poor, having a trainer like Breland who was so technically good. Especially, sometimes it's easy to train styles that are similar to yourself. So when you have a guy who has the same sort of stature, I know he's a giant, but comparison to weight, the same sort of stature, and with similar styles, but obviously he's a bigger puncher, then you would think it would be easy to get him to use that jab, because he knows, being a tall fighter for your weight, how to use that long left hand, and he hasn't been able to do that. Whether Wilder listens or not, I don't know. But actually, on the night of the fight, the criticism that Breland got by the other guys, the manager and whatever his name is, it was appalling. He did Wilder a favour. It's his job to protect Wilder. Wilder was brave. Well, I'd say Wilder's brave. He would have kept going out and getting beat up. So you have people to protect you. You have to have people who's going to give you the best opportunity to stay in a fight and try and win a fight, because it means everything to you. But also, you need to be safe from yourself. And Breland did the right job. Other people in his background, listen, we're speculating. I don't know who's who really, but he needs people telling the truth. That's what he needs. I think boxers now, some boxers become superstars, and they have so much money that they think they're Hollywood, and then they just want to be yes men around them, which is fantastic, which is great because you feel good. But boxing is such a dangerous and real sport that you need people to give you a reality check. Someone strong enough to be not just guns for hire. You need people to say no. And like Breland pulled him out of the fight and risked his job, and then was treated appallingly. You need people to be honest with you, whether they, and even if it means to them that they might lose their job, to say this is the wrong way. And I think if he has someone like that, he'll benefit. Even though I think Tyson Fury you're your own boss as an athlete, as a professional boxer, you're in charge. You should be in charge of your own destiny in many ways. But when you're in the gym, your trainer should be your boss, even though you pay him, and he really works for you. In that training scenario, he should be in charge of you. He should be a boss. So he tells you to walk through a wall, you have to do it. And if you're not prepared to do it, then he should get rid of you, or you should go on to someone who you are prepared to do what you're told with. I think that's a formula that's always worked throughout the history of sports, and I think it's a formula that should be stuck to.
The last time that the heavyweight division had an undisputed champion, you have to go all the way back to Lennox Lewis, who was a great champion, achieved a lot in his career. We're now one fight away from crowning an undisputed. The profile of the AJ versus Fury, the Fury versus AJ fight, whatever way you want to put it, has risen massively since that night in Las Vegas. Do you think now is the right time to make that fight and ask the likes of Wilder and Pulev to step aside, or do you think Wilder deserves his rematch and Pulev deserves his shot at the world title? Where do you stand in all of this, getting the the mandatories and the rematches to be perhaps pushed aside?
It's a complex situation. I don't think Wilder deserves his match, because I think he was lucky in the first fight, but that's not his fault. He got the draw. He was so comprehensively beaten in the second fight that I don't see. I think there's a formula that Fury can beat him two ways. So I think that's not a fight. It's still a fight I'd watch, but I wouldn't pick that over the Fury fight. But the Pulev one's different because he's mandatory challenger, and like Dillian White has been for 10 years. But he's a mandatory. That's what it seems that way. But he's the mandatory challenger for the IBF title, which obviously is owned by Anthony Joshua. Now, there's a mandatory for the reason you work your way up the rankings, whether by beating people better than you or above you, or manipulating the system by winning these international or European titles for the organizations. So why have that system when it can always be superseded by super fights? So I would be, if I was Pulev, I would step aside for this fight, long as I was guaranteed the next shot and I was paid a lot of money. Because ultimately, if you're getting paid money for nothing, you take it. If you guaranteed that fight anyway, why wouldn't you take it? There's a few fighters who wouldn't. Anthony Yarde, who I don't think really deserved his shot against Kovalev, to be honest. I mean, the fighters he boxed didn't really warrant where he was, but he got to number one. Mm-hmm. He refused to step aside for Sergey Kovalev to box somebody else. Mm-hmm. Box Canelo. He refused to step aside when he would have got paid, I think it was 7 figures, and still be guaranteed the shot of the winner or the vacant title. And I would have done that, and he never. I admire Andy Yarde for that. But for Pulev, if the step aside, a lot of money. So, but for me personally, and I think for a lot of boxing fans, the Joshua Fury fight, or actually, it should probably be now the Fury Joshua fight. We probably say at the moment that's where the A side would be. I think that trumps any fight, almost any fight in the world, to be honest. For marketing purposes, it's huge. And I think it would be a good fight.
It is a fight that potentially has, that the accolades for being the biggest fight, perhaps British boxing, maybe even world boxing scene, because it's that huge of a fight and because of obviously what awaits the winner. The stumbling block surely has to be, one is with Matchroom Eddie Hearn and one is with Bob Arum and Frank Warren. What needs to be done to make for this fight to be made?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on the deals they have. Even though Joshua is with Matchroom, but I think he's more with Sky than Matchroom, and I think that Fury is with Top Rank and Warren, but probably more it's the BT thing that's important. I think it's the BT and Sky, that's the important part. I think the promoters will go wherever they can go, of course. A simulcast can work like they've done in America. Obviously with was it Showtime and HBO did it for the
Tyson and Lewis.
I think Pacquiao and Mayweather was also done as well. So I think that's a feasible thing to do. But money talks. And I don't know if it depends on how they're tied into these deals with these TV companies and promoters. That's it. So, but when you talk about a fight of this magnitude, it would be the biggest fight financially of all time. It would be. Or maybe. I think that Pacquiao Mayweather thing was ridiculously stupid, and that might be hard to beat. But it'll be up there in the top 2 or 3, without a doubt. It won't be the best fight of all time, and they're not the best fighters of all time. Fury potentially is, and so maybe Joshua, but for the heavyweight division, but they're not right now. And in the history, of course. But the money that's around nowadays, it will be a top 3, financial earner in boxing history, without a doubt. It really would. It'd be huge, absolutely huge. Even in this climate now, with what's going on at the moment, once it gets cleared, if this went ahead, whatever it would be, in the desert somewhere, some rich Arab would pay silly money to have it in his back garden, and his back garden is probably about 5 million acres. So
Judging on Anthony Joshua's last performance and Tyson Fury's last performance, and with the way they've been the last couple of years, as a boxing fan, who would you put your money on in that fight?
Fury. You'd have to. I think for a long time I always said Joshua. To be fair, I said David Price before Fury back in the day. Back in the day when Fury and Price were sort of level. early in their careers, and someone said you got to bet your life on who's going to be a world champion, I would have put it all on Price. I would have. Fury makes so many mistakes. His genius is in his erraticness. He does some absolutely phenomenal things, but also gives you opportunities to. He seems to be better than now his last few fights for me, but he gives you opportunities. But I think in the second fight with Ruiz, with Joshua, he boxed the right fight, and he boxed very, very well, and he was tactically and technically really good. But he still looked like a man who was a little bit scared of getting hit. Not scared, tentative of getting hit. And at that division, I think that's a worry. Could it breed, because when you're a destroyer like Joshua was, he'd been hurt before, but he'd walk through people anyway. With Dillian White, he got hurt, but he didn't care. He charged through you. He had confidence in his power and his strength and his ability to his resolve to get you out of there. He boxed the right fight against Ruiz, but I think it looked like he lacked a bit of confidence. Now, the Pulev fight's perfect for him, because that's a fighter who's a good fighter, will ask you questions, but I think Pulev is just over the hill of where he was a few years ago. Because he had a long time waiting for this opportunity, and I just think that Joshua could do a good job in him, and that would build his confidence of being a bit more aggressive, Joshua, with a bit more thought than the past. Against Fury, I can't see how he's not going to... If he boxes like Ruiz, the second fight in Ruiz, second fight, he doesn't outbox Fury. He's in trouble. He gets played with. His best way is to try and walk through Fury. Now, Joshua punches correct, right through the target, inside his body frame. So he's quite neat. And that will cause Fury problems. I'm not sure. It's just the lack of lateral movement where Fury, I think, for me, the more imagination in his work, the more adaptability will, I think, put him on top. That was a massively long answer, but I'm thinking...
No, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. That's what we like on our channel. And hopefully we do get to see that fight at some stage.
Yeah.
Barry, is there anything else you'd like to add before we end the interview?
I just hope we're back to boxing soon. I really do. I think it's a testing time for us all, especially the fighters. It's always being a professional boxer. It's when you've been boxing as an amateur for nothing, getting paid to do what you love, whether it's a few £100 or a few £100,000 or millions, you're blessed. You're chasing a dream. It's fantastic. But sometimes, even with you're left waiting in limbo, not knowing when a fight's going to be. And everyone's experienced that at the minute, and it's a frustrating time. So let's hope these fighters can just keep it together, keep themselves in decent shape, and then as soon as we're given a go ahead, let's just get millions of fights in, every week. We should be dying beat TV3 and could be having 3 shows a week. Let's hope that. Let's hope that mainly, so I can earn a few quid. These are all selfish motives, of course, but no, honestly, that's it. We're all boxing fans, whether we work in boxing or watch it at home. I'm a massive boxer. I've been a massive boxing fan all my life, and I love it to my heart. It's a bit, and not being no boxing now is killing me. But also, on TV they're showing loads of old fights, which is fantastic. So some fights you forgot even happened have been really good to watch.
Apologies there, Barry. I missed that one question, but I've still got you on here. I'm going to have to get your thoughts on it. Carl Froch calling out the great Welsh Joe Calzaghe. It's good publicity. I'd love to see it happen, even now.
Yeah, but like anything nowadays, it gets taken out of proportion. I think they were doing some sort of Matchroom or Eddie O'Hearn or something. We're doing some sort of virtual press conference. So it was like, if you box Calzaghe or if you... And it was that sort of thing. I think I don't know Froch. I never met him in my life. And I'm sure he wouldn't even know who I was, to be honest. But I think he's a wind-up. I genuinely think he's a wind-up. Because I think he's quite dry. He seems that way. Or he's a nutter. One or the other. He's either a real brilliant wind-up or just a lunatic. Who knows? But he doesn't beat Joe for me. I think listen, he gives Joe a hard fight. Because Froch was tough. Tough as anything. And also, he won a world silver medal, I think. Cal Froch, so he could obviously box a bit, but Joe was a bit special, and he always found a way to win. I love Joe Calzaghe, so I'm slightly biased, which I can't help it, but I think Joe would have beat him. Not comfortable. I think the scoring would be wide, but it would be a really hard, tough fight. Any stage, long as they're at the same stage, any stage of their career. When they were British level, Joe beats him. When they were European level, Joe beats him. When they were world level, at the end of their careers as well, at the same times, I think Joe always beats him. That the same version of Joe and the same version of Froch at their different stages. I think Joe always prevails somehow. But they're not easy fights. He'd have to be at his best.
100%.
When Joe needed to be at his best, he always was.
Well,
what am I going to say?
You're Welsh. Yeah, I agree with you. And you, some might see it as a bit biased, but listen, it's your opinion, and that's what you think, and I respect it, and I do think it would have been.
It's the right opinion.
Well, we won't know unless they get in the ring. But no, Barry, just want to thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate you coming on here, and we look forward to hearing your voice again on BT Sports on a Saturday night, whenever that Saturday night might come.
So, mate, please.
And Barry Johns, thank you very much for your time. Stay safe, keep the family safe. Thank you very much for talking to us like that, Barry.
Cheers, pal. Bye, mate. Bye.